Well, hello students. This will hopefully be an exciting time for our video chat and lesson this week. The first thing I want to do is go over and review what has happened in chapter 1 so that we can move forward with the next part of our reading. Now, I'm going to show you an example of my book just for chapter 1. These are the amount of notes that I've taken. I've highlighted, I've written notes, and I've gone through. It's important for that to happen in order for us to keep track of what's happening every time that we read. For instance, I wanted to make sure that I kept track of Ponyboy and his description, so I made sure to do that. I made sure that with dairy and soda, those were listed as well. And we can go over and talk about some of those as well, but we did cover them a little bit more when I posted yesterday's video. What I want to do is actually give a quick summary of what happened so that we're all on the same page as we enter chapter 2. We meet our main character, Ponyboy Curtis, who is, this entire book is written in his narrative, so in the first person narrative. He's walking home in the afternoon after a movie that he went to see. And he's just thinking about the movie and thinking about how he went alone, and he likes being alone because no one else really understands his love of movies or has time for him like that. But then he grows restless. He has this feeling, excuse me. He has this feeling, this unsafe feeling that something might happen to him because the rich kids, the socials, otherwise known as the socias, they are not a great group of people. They are rich kids from the West Side, but they sort of do some things that would more likely be associated with the East Side kids, the gangs. They beat people up. They beat them within an inch of their lives, as we learned with Johnny and what happened with Johnny further on into chapter 1. So we know that he starts to get nervous, and pretty soon he hears the engines rolling up behind him of the car full of socials. And that's when he does get jumped. Now, all before this happens, he's introducing us to each of the characters, right? We know that Derry is his older brother, that he's 20 years old. We know Soda is his middle brother, who is 16 going on 17. We know that Steve Randall is Soda's best friend, and they both work at the gas station together. We find out that 2-Bit is the oldest of all the greasers. I mean, not really the oldest at 18 and a half, but of the originals. And Derry doesn't count because he is no longer a greaser. He is an adult. So he is also 2-Bit, which I always thought was really funny. He's our joke cracker, right? He likes to crack jokes with everyone. Doesn't seem to matter who it is. But what also happens, what the other thing he does is he also really likes school, which you think, wow, he's a greaser and he's 18 and a half. He's still a junior in high school. So, he likes to be in school. He likes that feeling. He's not very good at it, but he likes to be there. So that's really interesting. Ponyboy is really all about learning. He loves to learn. He loves his greaser family, but he doesn't really connect with them on the same sort of level. And I think this is where the whole thing with Ponyboy sort of changes, because we have to look at what conflict he's going through on the inside. So when we talk about conflict in the piece you did today on conflict with your Newsella article, it's really important for you to also understand that the conflict is internal when it comes to when it comes to Ponyboy. And so those are things that we're going to want to watch and keep an eye on as that goes, because that conflict is going to grow and grow and grow. And it's going to have to do, it's going to have the rising action, and it's going to come to a climax. And we're going to figure out what to do with that. What does he do when he's faced with a conflict that he doesn't know how to get out of? And where that goes from there. So all of these things are sort of setting us up. Each chapter is setting us up for the next chapter, which builds and builds and builds. So that is why it's very important that we do all of these little notes. Now that we know about our characters, right? Because we should have written those down, and we've gone over and looked at some things in the character analysis, and we'll do that as well next week when I see you in class, or this week when I see my F and G students on Thursday and Friday. But one of the big essential questions that I got was on page 17, when Ponyboy was thinking, and he's like, he says, why did the Socias hate us so much? We left them alone. I nearly went to sleep over my homework trying to figure it out. Why do the Socias hate the Greasers so much? What is it that the Greasers have that the Socias don't, that they feel that they need to beat up the Greasers over? That's a question that we're going to want to keep coming back to, because I think that's an essential question that's going to, have to be answered somewhere in this novel. So that's a question I want you to keep up on. The other question is at the end of chapter 1, and it's the whole last paragraph, which I'm going to read aloud to you. It says, in a moment, his breathing was light and regular. I turned my head to look at him in the moonlight. He looked like some Greek god come to earth. This is Ponyboy describing his brother Soda. I wondered how he could stand being so handsome. Then I sighed. I didn't quite get what he meant about Derry. Derry thought I was just another mouth to feed and somebody to holler at. Derry love me? I thought of those hard, pale eyes. Soda was wrong for once, I thought. Derry doesn't love anyone or anything, except maybe Soda. I didn't hardly think of him as being human. I don't care, I lied to myself. I don't care about him either. Soda's enough, and I'd have him until I got out of school. I don't care about Derry. But I was still lying, and I knew it. I lie to myself all the time, but I never believe me. It's a really interesting quote. I lie to myself all the time, but I never really believe me. Why do you think Ponyboy is unwilling to believe that Derry loves him? That was my big question. Why is it that you think he was unwilling? And that is going to be your independent study or assignment for this week. I'm going to give you a free write, which if any of you have ever done in any writing class with Mrs. Leary or any of your other teachers, I'm going to give you a topic, and I am going to ask you to answer it by spending time answering this question. This is the one time I'm going to tell you I don't want you to be concerned with spelling or grammar. I want you to simply write down, when you hear the question, write down exactly what it is that you're thinking, what comes to mind. And you might digress and connect it to your life as well. But I want you to really think about this. And I want you to give me a solid 8 sentences of it. It's not a long assignment. It's not going to take you very long. But I want you to do that. I want you to answer it. Also, I'm going to attach 3 questions that are super easy, but that I want you to answer regarding what happened in chapter 1. So those questions need to be answered and turned in, and I'm going to have you turn them in before your next class. And the free write also needs to be turned in before the next class. So those are what we're doing coming up on your independent days. Further, you're going to read chapters 2 and 3. I know it seems like a lot, but you have the entire weekend to work on it and your independent days. So we're going to make the most of what we have before we head into vacation, which means next week is the last week. So we definitely want to get some of these chapters taken care of. So I will see you guys the next time you're in school, but I will definitely be there tomorrow, so pop in. Also, during Focus tomorrow, if you have any questions whatsoever, I will make sure that my Zoom is open and we can go over anything that you have, or you can send me an email and we can go over it that way. I look forward to hearing from you all, and I really, really hope you're enjoying this book as much as I am. Talk to you soon.